What's going on, folks? Okay, so in this video, I'm going to go over common reasons why people hit strength plateaus and how to overcome them. Let's get right into it. The first thing is lack of or improper progressive overload. So what happens here is if you're using the same rep schemes, sets over the course of time and not increasing the load or changing up the volume of the movement, then you can potentially hit a plateau because you're not necessarily challenging your body to adapt. The other thing is if you're increasing too much from week to week. So a general rule of thumb is about a 10% increase from week to week at max, or you can think about it as weight. So with the upper body movements, you can think about 2.5 pounds to 5 pounds for upper body compound movements per week increase. Or for lower body, you can think of 10 to 15 pounds increases from week to week, just because it's more musculature and the lower body needs less variety to adapt. So you want to make sure that you are adding weight or adding volume from week to week, and you want to make sure that you're not doing too much from week to week so you don't necessarily hit a plateau. So the main point here is to make sure that you're writing out a structured program so that way you know where you're going, how you're going to increase, when you're going to back off a little bit in order to allow your body to adapt and respond, and then continue to increase so that way you don't necessarily hit a plateau. The next thing is insufficient recovery. So your body can hit a plateau by not having enough rest and recovery time in between workouts, or it could just be overall from lack of nutrition, hydration, sleep, stress overall, and training stress as well. So solutions here, you want to think about taking rest periods in between your training days, or you can think about making sure that if you have multiple training days in a row, that you have a high day and a low day and maybe a medium day if you're doing, let's just say, 3 training sessions in a row. So what I mean by low, high, medium is intensity wise. So if your most intensive session is on Monday, maybe your least intensive is on Tuesday, and a medium session on Wednesday, and then that's followed by a rest day. So the most I usually go with my clients is about 3 days of training overall and then a rest day. Now, there are other cases, but this is a good rule of thumb here. Same thing with upper and lower. So if you know you get really taxed by lower body training, maybe you want to perform that on your first day, and then you do your upper body training session the next day, and then you do a rest day. So that way you're already kind of recovering when you go into that rest day, and then by the time you come back to another lower body day, you should be recovered enough in order to put a good amount of effort into that workout. So the other thing is just making sure you're managing all the other things outside of your training program adequate. So the next thing that we're getting into is poor technique. Now, this one is not necessarily calling out that you have to have perfect technique, because nobody really does, but you want to have sufficient technique to where you can execute the movement with the high intensity. So what happens is people typically will skip over a phase of doing higher repetitions and higher time under tension just to get to the heavier loads. But when you do that, you skip over the learning phase for your body to start to adapt and know what it needs to do for that movement in order to execute it efficiently. So you're not putting in the reps for your body to get good technique in and time under tension before you jump into the heavy weights. So solution is taking your training sessions and really, or your training program, and really designing it out for technique focus. And what that can look like is you actually emphasizing some weak points in your lift. So if the bottom position is a little bit weak, you can do pauses, or you can just take more time to get into that position and take time to come out of that position. The other thing is if your sport or objective doesn't require you to do a specific movement, what you can do is just do a movement variation of that movement pattern. So if you don't need a back squat and you have a really hard time with back squat technique, maybe you might want to do a front squat or a Zercher squat or a goblet squat. It just depends on what you're trying to get out of it and what you'll need in order to progress and reach your goal. So the next thing is nutritional deficiencies. So that can be lack of sufficient carbs, fats, proteins, calories overall, and that can reduce the amount of muscle gain that you can get and then also stall your strength gain. So the next thing is stress and lifestyle factors. So this area is highly overlooked, that the outside stress that we have in our jobs, our relationships, our life outside of the gym can have a major impact on our ability to recover from our training sessions. So if we're not making sure that we're managing that stress appropriately, then we can definitely hit a strength plateau because our body's not able to adapt to the training or we'll end up getting some type of injury that'll set us back because we overstressed our system in general. So manage the stress outside of the gym and take care of those things. And it doesn't necessarily mean eliminating stress. It could just be you handling that stress by doing stress management techniques such as meditation, if that's your thing. It could be light stretching, it can be breath work, it can be going on a long walk outside, it can be going on a long walk unplugged with no music, or plugged with music in your ear, some of your favorite tunes that you enjoy to kind of help you get into a relaxed state. So the main thing here is finding something that gets you into a relaxed state that is healthy for you. So the next thing that we're getting into is lack of variety in training. So lack of variety in training can look like doing the same movement patterns over an extended period of time and not changing it up, giving the body a different stimulus to try and adapt to. And changing up the movement variations can also hit on weak points in our lifts and then also in our musculature that we may not get if we continuously do the same movements over and over again. So we want to plan this out and not just go day one, we're doing one squat variation, day two, we're doing another one, but we want to plan it out over the course of time more in a structured way and not just all over the place with movement variation, because that can definitely end up allowing you to hit another strength plateau. So too much variation and enough variation. So we're trying to find that middle ground between variety in our workouts. And the final point here is addressing weak points. A lot of the people that I've ended up working with stated while working with me that they never actually tried to address those weak points because they wanted to do movements that they enjoyed, because the movements that hit their weak points were very eye-opening for them and they didn't necessarily want to see their reflection in the mirror. So you always want to make sure that you are being truthful with yourself in seeing, okay, where am I weak at? If it's I need more back training, if I need more core work, if I need more upper body strength, or if I need more shoulder stability work, whatever it may be, you want to figure out what your weak points are and then tackle your weak points, but make sure it's in a structured format that you're, let's say over the course of a month or a couple of months, you plan out that I'm really going to focus on improving my back strength or my back endurance. So that way in my back squat, my back doesn't go out after a few sets of the squat. And there you have it. Those are the strategies in order to overcome strength plateaus. So if you have any other questions, leave them in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.